So, uh, imagine applying for a job as the chief executive of a massive multi-million-dollar organization.
Right. You'd expect questions about logistics or, I don't know, crisis management.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But instead, you sit down for the final interview, and the board asks you exactly where on your body you wear your sacred thread
Oh, wow.
and what you drink on the weekends.
Yeah, that's not your typical HR screening.
No, it's not. But that is a very real scenario unfolding in one of India's most powerful new institutions right now. And it kind of perfectly captures the underlying theme of our deep dive today. Welcome in, everyone. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2026.
And today, we're really looking at a wave of institutional pushback, from massive protests reshaping government bills and exam systems to crackdowns on the food we eat and the flights we take, all the way to global economic standoffs.
Yeah, there's a lot of friction out there right now. Let's start with a pretty major reversal from the union government. This is regarding the Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill, or the FCRA.
Yeah.
According to The Hindu, the government has actually decided to send this highly controversial 2026 bill to a joint parliamentary committee for review.
Which is a huge pivot, honestly.
It is. I mean, the FCRA is essentially the legal gatekeeper for any NGO in India that wants to, receive money from abroad.
Yeah, and the mechanism proposed in this new bill is what triggered such intense blowback in the first place. I mean, it was introduced back on March 25th, and it proposed creating a designated authority with the powers of a civil court.
Meaning they could act fast.
Exactly. If an NGO's registration was suspended or canceled, this authority could just step in and completely take over, like manage or even sell off assets built with foreign funds.
Wow.
So if organizations that have spent decades building hospitals or schools, this looked like an administrative kill switch.
Right, a kill switch that completely bypasses standard judicial delays. But I do have to ask about the geopolitical angle here, because The Hindu mentions U.S. Congressman Riley Moore publicly warning that this could actually damage India-U.S. relations.
Right.
Does domestic legislation regarding NGOs actually move the needle on international diplomacy? Or is that just, political posturing?
No, it absolutely moves the needle, especially when the domestic legislation threatens international religious charities. The pushback wasn't just coming from domestic groups, though they were active.
Yeah, they had those coordinated online appeals starting around August 9th, right?
Exactly. And Union Home Minister Amit Shah did meet with an 18-member delegation of Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox representatives just recently. But, the international optics of a government potentially seizing church-built assets, that creates immense pressure.
Which kind of explains the relief from groups like the Catholic Bishops' Conference of India, although they are still demanding a clear legal distinction between, minor clerical errors and major offenses before any property is just seized.
Yeah, they want some safeguards.
Definitely. And, speaking of organized protests forcing political reckonings at the state level, let's look at Jharkhand.
Oh, the exam protests.
Yeah. Reporting for the Times of India shows that the situation there is escalating rapidly over the JSSC CGL examination. Students are demanding the cancellation of the exam due to alleged leaks.
Right. And it's important to remember the JSS-CGL isn't just another test. It is the primary gateway to secure lucrative state government jobs.
Yeah.
So when the integrity of that exam collapses, you're looking at the destruction of social mobility for an entire generation.
And what's truly revealing is how quickly this administrative failure became a massive jurisdictional war. The Times of India reports that Congress leaders are defending the state government's handling of the protests. They claim no force was used, but they're also accusing the BJP of demanding a CBI probe over a state CID probe just to, quote, shield the exam mafia.
Yeah, let's dig into those numbers and the politics of that, because it's fascinating. Congress is circulating figures claiming that under BJP rule nationwide since 2015, there have been 152 paper leaks.
Wow, 152.
Yeah, with zero convictions. So they are using that statistical track record to argue that, bringing in central agencies like the CBI is just a deliberate tactic to bury the truth.
But Congress is also floating claims that outside actors were intentionally brought in on August 10th to escalate the assembly row into violence, which implies the students' legitimate grievances were essentially hijacked.
Right. And then the BJP's counter-argument is straightforward. A state apparatus simply cannot be trusted to investigate its own catastrophic failure. They argue only an external central probe can ensure transparency.
So the integrity of exams has literally just become a major political weapon.
Exactly.
Well, shifting directly from state-level investigations of exam mafias to state-level crackdowns on public health and safety, According to the Times of India, the Maharashtra FDA has just shattered the assumption that global brands guarantee basic cleanliness.
Oh, this was wild to read.
Right. They suspended the licenses of 4 Domino's Pizza outlets run by Jubilant Foodworks in Mumbai and Satara, plus 2 Sapphire Foods outlets in Karad.
And a suspension means they found severe systemic noncompliance. We aren't talking about, forgetting to fill out a ledger. Health inspectors found critical failures in food storage, pest control, temperature monitoring.
Gross.
Yeah, and failing to segregate veg and non-veg items.
It really makes you wonder how a globally standardized franchise reaches that point. But this crackdown is massive in scale, isn't it?
It is. Under FDA Commissioner Tukaram, they didn't just target local places. They inspected 104 chain establishments. We're talking giants like KFC, McDonald's, and Starbucks.
Wow, 104.
Yeah, resulting in 95 improvement notices and 11 total suspensions.
It's just a very dry reminder that trusting brand names doesn't always guarantee basic hygiene.
Not all.
But moving from the safety of the food we consume to the grim reality of physical safety on the roads. According to a report in the Indian Express, police are investigating an alleged gang rape on the Kadachanbali Road in Odisha.
Yeah, this is just a horrific case.
It is. A woman and her male friend were driving from Bhubaneswar to Kendrapada late Tuesday night when their car was intercepted by 6 men. The attackers assaulted the man and then gang raped the woman before fleeing.
It really emphasizes a much broader, terrifying infrastructural concern here, which is just the extreme vulnerability of travelers on isolated inner-city stretches at night. You have these sprawling, modernized urban centers, but the moment you transition onto these highways, it's a void.
Yeah, local Cuttack District Police are currently trying to trace the accused escape routes. But it highlights how, the environment between point A and point B remains just dangerously unregulated.
Absolutely.
Late night bites with friends? Already hard to beat. That first too hot bite of fries you couldn't wait for, followed by ice cold Pepsi. Now that hits different. Suddenly, the energy kicks back in, the night goes longer, and the laughs don't stop. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
So looking at how the country's leadership is speaking to the next generation amidst all these societal challenges, as reported by Akashvani News, Prime Minister Modi was in New Delhi releasing an autobiography.
Right, former President Ramnath Kovind's book.
Exactly. It's called Triumph of the Indian Republic, My Life, My Struggles. And Modi used the platform to urge youth to read autobiographies and avoid what he called, quote, shortcut culture.
Which he specifically attributed to, social media reels and influencers. The underlying message here is about resilience and national self-reliance, this idea of a Viksit Bharat. He was basically saying that true upward mobility requires enduring a long trajectory, not just looking for a quick hack. And Kovind himself echoed this, framing politics as a service, not a power grab, and mentioning his continued work on things like one nation, one election.
Which is all very profound, but I do have to playfully point out the irony.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
You are literally sitting here delivering a highly synthesized deep dive designed to save you, the listener, time. Are tools of efficient learning part of this shortcut culture?
Well, I'd say there's a difference between efficient synthesis and the illusion of knowledge. A 15-second reel might be a shortcut, but distilling complex news so you can actually understand it, that's just respecting your time.
Fair enough. I'll take that defense. But, if you want to connect the Prime Minister's warning against shortcuts directly to an industry where shortcuts can literally be fatal, let's look at commercial aviation.
Oh, the Air India flight.
The Times of India reports that the government has issued a severe warning to Air India following a harrowing sequence of events on an August 4th flight. This was AI 2379 from Phuket to Delhi.
Right, carrying 145 passengers. And this flight experienced multiple rapid-fire warnings. We're talking hydraulics, doors, the elevator system.
A pilot's worst nightmare.
Seriously. The autopilot failed, resulting in sudden altitude loss. Thankfully, a disaster was averted by the co-pilot. But the really wild part is the human element here.
Yeah, the pilot in command subsequently tested positive for drugs.
He claimed it was prescription sleeping pills, right?
He did. But the regulatory fallout is massive. The aviation ministry has warned Air India, especially since the report on that June Ahmedabad crash is still pending.
And there's this huge debate happening right now among senior pilots. First off, Airbus is investigating if the mechanical warnings were actually spurious, like a computer glitch.
Right.
But on the human side, pilots are pushing the DGCA, the civil aviation regulator, to differentiate between prescription medication and recreational drugs in their mandatory testing protocols.
Because right now, the drug testing machines just flag specific chemical markers.
Right.
It treats a prescribed sleep aid the same as a recreational narcotic.
Exactly. But obviously, you still shouldn't be flying a plane if you're heavily sedated.
No, definitely not. Well, shifting from vetting pilots for safety to vetting administrators for cultural and institutional alignment, let's go back to that CEO interview I mentioned at the start.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
According to Money Control, the Sri Ram Janambhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust is interviewing for its first full-time CEO. This is following a recent theft incident at the Ram Temple, so they need formal management.
Which makes sense. It's a massive operation.
Huge. Out of 5,200 applicants, they shortlisted 18. We are talking former IAS, IPS, and military personnel. But these 40 to 50-minute interviews included highly specific questions about where candidates wear the janu, the sacred thread, and whether they consume alcohol.
It really highlights the dual nature of this role. On one hand, they desperately need a high-level administrator to manage massive crowds and prevent theft.
Right.
But on the other hand, the trust is strictly enforcing cultural and religious alignment. It really makes you ponder where the line gets drawn between, professional public administration experience and personal religious customs for a site of this magnitude.
Yeah, it seems like they are refusing to separate the two. Well, transitioning from a massive established organization formalizing its structure to a grassroots movement struggling to do exactly the same thing.
The CJP.
Yeah. The Telegraph reports on claims from Cockroach Janta Party, or CJP, founder Abhijit Dipke. A planned meeting in Narayana, Delhi, was abruptly canceled by the banquet hall owners.
And they allegedly cited pressure to deny the venue, right?
Right. Exactly. Dip attributes this intimidation directly to the ruling BJP.
Which, it's crucial to provide the background here. The CJP isn't just a random group. They recently concluded a 36-day nationwide protest at Jantar Mantar over the NEET paper leak.
Which ties right back to our earlier segment on exam mafias.
Exactly. They have real political weight. I mean, their protest involved activist Sonam Wangchuk's hunger strike and actually contributed to the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan.
So they aren't flying under the radar.
No, not at all. And while Dip's claims of BJP pressure are unverified, they highlight this intense friction around youth political organizing right now. When you try to move from street protests to a formal organizational structure, suddenly you face these invisible roadblocks.
Yeah, it's a huge hurdle. But moving from political leadership struggles to high-stakes sports leadership dynamics. According to the Indian Express, Hardik Pandya attempted to return to the Gujarat Titans for the next IPL season.
I saw this.
Yeah, and apparently GT and current captain Shubman Gill were open to a trade. But the deal died because Pandya made it conditional on being reinstated as captain.
It's just a fascinating look at leverage, or really a lack thereof. Pandya led GT to a title in 2022.
Right, he was on top of the world.
But after moving to Mumbai Indians in 2024, and then suffering 10 losses in 14 matches in the 2026 season, he's on a very difficult leadership wicket.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same bargaining power.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the runway approved vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or really admired vehicle?
Oh, or really awesome vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
Exactly. And it reveals the absolute firmness of franchise boundaries. GT prioritized leadership stability with Gill over taking back a proven title winner who arrived making demands.
They just weren't willing to compromise the hierarchy. Well, transitioning from a franchise rejecting demands from a star player to India being urged to reject demands from a global superpower.
This is a big one.
Reporting in The Hindu highlights the Swadeshi Jagaramanshi, the SJM, which is the RSS economic wing. They are urging the central government to reject U.S. Senate legislation that threatens 100% tariffs on countries buying Russian crude oil.
And SJM co-convener Ashwani Mahajan is arguing that India's energy purchases are a sovereign right.
Right.
But if you pull the lens back, this is really about broader economic nationalism. The SJM isn't just talking about oil. They are demanding the government roll back e-commerce policies and UPI merchant discount rates that benefit U.S. firms.
They're even threatening a boycott, aren't they?
Yeah, a boycott of American soft drinks and tech platforms. It really makes you consider the tightrope India is walking here. You have U.S. trade negotiations on one side and this fierce demand for strategic autonomy on the other.
And, connecting that geopolitical standoff over oil directly to your wallet, according to CNBC, India's consumer price inflation rose to 4.45% in July.
Which is the 9th consecutive month of rising prices.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's driven by a 5.5% rise in food and a 7% rise in transport inflation.
And the why behind this is entirely global. Global oil is hovering around $90 a barrel due to the Iran war and the Red Sea shipping attacks. Since India imports 85% of its fuel, these global shocks hit local transport and food prices almost immediately. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra recently called the outlook hazy.
Hazy is not what you want to hear from the central bank.
No, it's not. And Morgan Stanley is projecting that the RBI will hike rates by 75 basis points starting in December, reaching 6.0%.
Which means the geopolitical debates we were just talking about have a literal percentage cost on your cost of living.
Exactly. From the FCRA bill and exam protests to Air India's cockpits and global oil tariffs, today's stories are all about the friction between those holding power and those demanding accountability.
Yeah.
As you go about your day, ask yourself, in these sprawling, complex systems we rely on, who is actually checking the checkers?
It's a question we all need to be asking. Thanks for joining us for today's deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.